think that you'd be able to teach someone how to read without actually understanding how you yourself know how to read? What I learned this semester was all the different rules that go behind learning and spelling, or reading and spelling. I didn't think of the letters as actual rules. I just thought of them as patterns or symbols that I made up in my own head to make them make sense to me. I learned that there really is a true science between reading and spelling. Some of the reasons that we're able to read and sound out unfamiliar words are because of the rules that go behind them. The English language has a lot of rules that really give us strict guidelines. Although reading and spelling might seem like they go hand in hand, they actually have a lot of rules that make them differ from one another. When you're able to understand these differences and understand the rules, you can help others succeed in how to read. I'm sure most of us have heard the rule, I before E except after C. This sounds like something that is very easy to follow and that would really help you read and spell. But on a blog called Today I Found Out, I learned that this is actually not true. There's a lot of words that this is actually the complete opposite of. This is just one example of a lot of misconceptions we might have about reading and spelling rules. Another misconception is vowels. Dictionary.com proves what I learned in this past semester to be true. When you think of vowels, you think A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. But in reality, it's sometimes W too. In words like low and bow, the W is actually a vowel because of the way you move your mouth. I found this to be really interesting, and I actually had no idea that that was a thing. Reading is also split into 5 pillars. Within these 5 pillars, we can learn to properly read and write. The 5 pillars include phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. All of these things work together as a pyramid. Without the first, you cannot move on to the second, so you must know how to do phonemic awareness before you can move on to phonics, and so on and so forth. Once I actually accepted the fact that I didn't know everything about reading and writing, I was able to openly learn about the rules. Succeed to Read says, phonics is one method of teaching children how to read. Children are taught how to sound out words by learning the following, and then the website goes on to explain multiple different rules. I'll just tell you about a few of them. One of them is that we must learn how to sound out each consonant. In my class, I learned that, when you teach a child how to say the letter B, it's not B, it's very specifically B. You cannot add that extra sound to the end of it. Might seem really insignificant to us since we already know how to read. This makes a big difference when you're learning it. There's also blends, like the SH makes a sh sound, TH makes, and CH makes ch. We feel like we already know these, but they're really specific rules. There's also vowel pairs. And so in the word each, the EA is a vowel pair, and here the A doesn't make any sound. So when you have a vowel pair, you need to know that it makes the sound of the first vowel, the E. There's also spelling rules. These are a lot different than reading rules though. And so it covers how sounds are spelt based off the different syllables in the word, or the placement of that specific sound in the word, and the surrounding sounds. So for example, G, in the word gym, it makes a J sound. And this is because the letter G comes before E, I, or Y. It makes a hard G, like G in gal, when it comes after a consonant or an A or an O. And there's just a lot of other very specific rules to follow that you wouldn't have really thought about otherwise. Once I knew all these rules, I figured that I could actually apply them. As a future teacher, I need to know all of what I need to teach the students, but more importantly, if a student's struggling with something, how do I help them with that specific thing? In my class, we did a lot of case studies that look like this. And so in these case studies, it gives us a little bit of a background of a student, shows us a little bit of a writing sample from them, and then we have to go through them, figure out not only their strengths, but their weaknesses, and then figure out what their underlying difficulty is, and then what actual activities we can do, such as reteach the spelling rules through direct instruction. And so if we don't do this, and if we don't actually focus on their underlying difficulty, we will experience the Matthew effect. And so in this graphic, we see the Matthew effect. In simple terms, according to Reading Rocket, it is not only about progressive decline of slow starters, but the widening gap. The Matthew effect, for simple terms, is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And so if a student does not know a base concept, they're not going to be able to move on to the next. And they'll just continue to fall behind, and the gap will continue to grow. And so that's what this graphic shows us, is that how important, especially in 3rd grade, it is to know all the main concepts. So reading and spelling are complex ideas that were difficult for me to learn even at the age of 21, even though I knew how to read and how to write. Whether or not you plan on being a parent or a teacher in your future, and that means that you'd be teaching someone else how to read and write, knowing all of these rules can be extremely beneficial to your long-term education. When it comes to reading, remember the words of Dr. Seuss. The more you read, the more things you know. The more things you know, the more places you'll go. So never take it for granted your ability to read and write with ease. That would show everyone again.